Let's do this.
It's time for Hangin' with Langin.
I like that she's got a big dirty mouth that gets her in trouble.
Wow.
Stop me, 'cause I'm having a good time.
Hey, you guys, it's Maureen Langan. You are Hanging with Langan. So happy that you could be here with me today. You know, I like to bring you a show that runs the gamut from academics to alcoholics and everyone in between. So it's always, we try to give you a show that's fun, heart, and smart. That's the goal. And in a moment, I'm going to be introducing you to my friend, a fellow comedian. Her name is Carole Montgomery. And really, I'm very proud of her because here's the deal. She created, produced, and hosts a show called Women of a Certain Age, a stand-up comedy show featuring women, female comics of a different age. Her show was picked up by Showtime. It is now in its third special. So I find this all really inspiring because we work like dogs out there. And to see another comedian have success, it just, it thrills me. It really does. So I'm going to introduce her in just a moment, bring her on camera with me, but please, please, please share this. All you have to do is hit the share button. That is it. How easy is that? Happy Tuesday, Jim. All right, without further ado, ding, 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 my friend Carole Montgomery. Hi, Carole.
Hey, everybody. How are you, Mo? It's been a long time. Jesus.
I know, a freaking long time. You know, you just heard me say that I'm really inspired by you and proud of you because I know the work it takes to do what you did.
Thank you.
And we have a trailer of the first and second shows because the new one isn't out yet.
No. We're still working on it.
This was the second Showtime special, and Carole and Ray kicks it off here.
It's very nice to be on Women of a Certain Age because what would the all-male special be called? Congress?
I'm transgender. I was married when I came out. I said, honey, we have to talk. She's looking at me. She goes, is it another woman?
Listen, my sweet young millennials, you have something that our generation will never have again. Hope.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm very proud of them. I'm proud of all the shows. They're pretty amazing. Do you know what I mean? They're just, and the women could not have been greater.
Carole and Ray's joke about what would an all-male called Congress, that's a great line.
Oh, it's a great line. But, you know, I'm sure you know, it's so interesting about the title of the show. I'm sure you're going to be shocked when I tell you that. I can't tell you how many older male comics have said to me, why aren't you doing Men of a Certain Age? And I'm like, because Jim Gaffigan doesn't need my fucking help. That's... You know, it's like, can you just give us this? Is it okay if we have something that's different that we don't have to include you? But and they all think they're being original, and it's just like, no.
Well, okay, so I want to talk about the trajectory. First of all, I have to play one more of the trailer so people see the people you've had on this show. There's the trailer from another one of Women of a Certain Age. We don't have the one airing on November 24th because they're keeping it under wraps, Showtime is, until they're ready to release it.
Yeah.
That's how they roll.
Yes.
Here we go. Here's another one.
I'm not doing the birthdays anymore. When you consider a 50-year-old a younger man, what's to celebrate?
The difference between like young people sex and old people sex is that young people can go for hours, not old people. You do 10 minutes, you could die.
Every guy in Brooklyn looks like a Viking on a bicycle. When did looking like a biblical figure become a hot look?
All right, there we have Fran Dresher, Carole Montgomery, Vanessa Hollingshead.
Yeah.
Fran Dresher, what was that like working with her? Is she a comedian? I know she's a comedic actress.
She's a comedic actress, but, you know, we talked about, before she did the show, we talked about it, and she said, you know, well, I can't do her voice, you know, Carole, you know, but she was like, Carole, she goes, even though I haven't done stand-up per se, I've sat on many couches and told funny stories, and she was amazing on the show. She was absolutely amazing on the show, and she could not have been kinder. One of them, for who she is, I mean, remember, for me at least, you know, Fran Dresher, I mean, I watch The Nanny every week, you know what I mean?
Sure.
You know, and it was such a great show, and so for her to be on my show, and she could not have been nicer. And then afterwards, after we did the show, and the show premiered, She did a show at the Improv in Hollywood, and her assistant called me and said, Fran wants to know if you'd open for her. And I was like, yes.
Let me think about it. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, she could not have. I mean, but all the women that are the for lack of a better term, the well-known women, the stars. All Caroline Rhea is one of the, she's amazing. Teri Hatcher, Marsha Warfield, all just real human beings.
And those are some of the names on this next show airing on November 24th. Teri Hatcher, Marsha Warfield, who was in Roz in Night Court.
Yep.
Wendy Liebman, a Long Island gal, now living in LA. Leanne Lord, a friend of both of ours. And Monique Marvez. So before I show clips of these women, what I want to ask you, people see you have a Showtime special. And we all know how comics are. How come I didn't get that? I want that special. How did she get it? You're rumbling a little with the audio.
Sorry.
Just changed a bit.
Okay.
So you know how comics always. They're always coveting how somebody else. But sometimes they don't understand how people sling it out through the mud and make it happen for themselves. And sometimes that hard work does meet with luck or somebody catching it. Tell me how you started this, because I know you started doing women of a certain age in small little clubs in New York, right? Tell me how it grew.
Okay, so very quickly, I mean, to the point about what you were saying about with comics, and that's just every comic does that. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a superstar or just starting out in the mics, everyone always goes, how come they got it? Because and what I do say when people say that to me is I said, here's how I got it. First of all, I have 40 years of experience as a stand-up comedian. I've worked all over the country. I've headlined in Vegas for 10 years and, in a certain couple of burlesque shows. I mean, I worked hard. And if anyone can take that away, this isn't a sprint. This is a marathon. Mm-hmm. And what happened is I was doing a podcast with a bunch of other women, and they were all around my age, and we were all old friends. And I remember saying to my husband as I was walking home, because it was all the way out in fucking Queens, like in the middle of nowhere, and I was on the phone with him, and I said, we had the best time. We had so much fun. I said, there should be a show for us. And I came up with the title. And it also in this business, you can't expect anybody to give it to you. Everyone, a lot of people think, I'll just.
All the women that are. That was you backfeed. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So you can't. I teach, because I teach stand up too now, and I'm like, you can't expect anybody to give you anything. So I made this project, and before I was doing this, and before I came up with this idea, I direct, and I develop solo shows, and I produce, and I do everything in the business. So I came up with the idea. I was lucky enough to get it to premiere at the Cinder Block Comedy Festival in Brooklyn, and that show was me, Rhonda Hanson, Judy Gold, Janine Garofalo. I had a young girl who's a young comic in her 20s as a joke, as like the millennial. Jamie Manalis, and me. And it just, you could tell there was something. I've never had that, because we all throw enough shit on the wall. Do you know what I mean? And this just kept, it never stopped. It just kept, snowballing. And from there was somebody who was working the door at the festival. And she said, I think I work at this theater down on the Lower East Side. I think my boss would love this show. And that was we did the premiere in September. We did a date in November at the Crane. He immediately said to me, I want you to do a residency here.
The Crane is a really cool little joint in the Lower East Side.
Yes. Yes. And they are the reason why we have the special, because we did the major showcase there. We invited everybody, me and the theater took a hit because we packed it with industry and everyone was there. And from that came we had everyone there, and there were a bunch of people interested in the show. And the reason I went with Showtime is Showtime gave me my first break years ago when they used to have a show called the Showtime Comedy Club All Stars. And I was in the 6th one, I think. It was when Don Rickles was hosting it. So I wanted, Yeah, so I wanted to go with the people that were with me from the beginning, and that's basically how it happened. But it's really important to keep saying that. I mean, I know there are people who are like, how come she did? It's like, because I worked my ass off. Okay, there was no luck involved. That was me working my ass off.
What I want to ask you though, okay, so are you friends with Janeane Garofalo? Are you friends, I mean, obviously Judy Gold, to get these people to come on and do this with you in the festival? Because sometimes people will go, no, I'm too busy, or, I'm not into it.
Well, for the Cinder Block, I chose the non-celebrities like Rhonda and Jamie, and the Booker said to me, she goes, I have Judy Gold and Janeane Garofalo. Would you like to have them on the show? I said, absolutely. I'd love to have them on the show. And I've known Judy forever. And Janeane and I actually, I mean, we're not pals, but, she's done some of the shows at the Crane. You did the show at Stand Up New York during the festival. So, I mean, what happens is this is really interesting because I prefer to deal with the talent myself, like, you know what I mean, and we've asked a lot of famous women to be on the show, and they've turned it down because they want their own special, or they're not interested, they don't want to be known as over a certain age. So we just, when people approach us and go, we want to do the show, we're like, okay.
But when you started to do this, I'm talking to Carole Montgomery, you guys. She's a comedian, she's the producer, the host, the creator of a comedy show with all female comics. It's called Women of a Certain Age. She's having her third Showtime special. It's airing on November 24th. Teri Hatcher, Monique Marvez, Marsha Warfield, Leanne Lord, Wendy Liebman, and I'll have clips of them in a moment. But some of you are making nice comments. Julia Scotti says Carole deserves every freaking accolade you can give her.
I love you, Julia.
Everybody loves Julia. That's the show. But those of you who are watching, like Julia, we can't see your name because you're watching on, I know what's your comment because I'm watching it on my phone as well. Hey, do me a favor, folks. If you're watching on the Hangin' with Langan Facebook page, I want you to please go to StreamYard.com and /Facebook, StreamYard.com /Facebook. Click on the blue button, then we get to see your beautiful name with your beautiful comment, and share it. If you just tuned in now, share this thing, because this is a good show, and I got a good guest here. And we're going to play some really cool clips. Carole, but what I want to say to you is, when you started to do this show, the first time you did it, was it originally out at a festival called Red something? What is
the Cinder Block? The Cinder Block Comedy Festival.
All right. So when you went out to the Cinder Block Festival, that wasn't your first time doing Women of a Certain Age, was it?
Yes. That was the first time.
But you had no idea this is going to go to Showtime? You don't know where it's going to go next, do you? Somebody saw it at the festival and said, come do a residency. Right. You were down at the Crane for years, weren't you?
Yeah, we're starting our 5th year in January at the Crane.
And how often are you doing the show?
Monthly. We even did it during the pandemic. Well, originally, we couldn't do anything and everything was shut down. But then once we were allowed, I want to say over the summer, we did shows virtually where we were there. We were at the theater, and it was Vanessa Hollingshead, and then I had someone else rotate in. But we would do the show, and there was no audience. We were just playing to the virtual crowd because I wanted to make sure that the show.
Watch your audio. You keep hitting something.
I keep hitting myself.
Don't hit yourself. It's hurtful.
I wanted to keep the name out there, so I just went and did. So we were doing stuff virtually when nobody was doing shows.
All right. The reason I keep asking these many questions is to get to Showtime is I want people to understand. You go to a festival, then you're taking your show to a small kind of hipster little theater down on the Lower East Side, probably going to McSorley's for a beer on occasion. We don't know. And then, but you're doing this for years. And then finally, when does industry come? How long are you doing it? What do you guys, we all know when you're a performer, you try to reach out to those in the business to come down and see what you're doing, right?
Right.
And oftentimes they go, are you freaking kidding me? They don't. So how did you bring them in, and then tell me what happened after that.
This is going to make everyone really hate me. It happened really fast, Maureen. I mean, I came up with the show. It was in September of 2017 when we premiered it at the Cinder Block. We did the residency in the Crane that December, and that February. So what is that, 6 months? We had the industry showcase, and by April we had a deal with Showtime. That's unheard of. For the audience, just so you understand, that is totally unheard of. I mean, you know, the Queen's Gambit took 15 years to get on. So
chess is a slow moving game.
It's a slow moving game.
Exactly. Slow moving.
Exactly. But I know how in that sense, I was very lucky because that's what I mean by it snowballed. I mean, it from the moment we started, it just kept going. It just kept going.
And your next special will be on November
24th on Showtime at 10 p.m.
And that's on the same 10 p.m. both Eastern and Pacific.
Eastern. Yeah.
And on this show's Teri Hatcher, Marsha Warfield, Wendy Liebman, Leanne Lord, and Monique Marvez.
Yes.
We're going to show you some clips about these ladies. And here is Wendy Liebman.
And I've become vegan between meals. I'm very not quite there yet. I've been eating healthier, though. And I have to say, when I eat healthier, I feel so much hungrier and weaker and more deprived and a little gassy. But now that I'm in my 50s, I find that I gain weight just by looking at a cake that I'm finishing. I'm very, I lost 2 pounds recently, though, mostly bone loss. I don't care.
She's so great. She's so great. And that's the thing. I think the thing I love about the show in general is that the support of the women, like when, you know, we do interstitials in between each of the women's sets, and she said some really kind things to me about the show. And I mean, everyone is so thrilled that they're getting to see these voices of women that are not, you know, underlooked at, underutilized. You know, it's really my pleasure to be able to give these women their shot to be seen more. Because Wendy's had a career, but I wanted, you know, Wendy was supposed to be on the first special, and then she was in a car accident. And
that's right.
And then she was so funny. She was like, she goes, "I'll come. Do you mind if I come in a cast?" And her doctor wouldn't let her fly. And then the second special, she was supposed to go on that. And
then what happened?
Well, she couldn't. She still hadn't. They had to re-break one of her legs. So she couldn't do the second, and then she did third. And well, the same thing happened with Miss Julia. If she's still watching, she knows this story. Julia was supposed to be in the first special, and then a week before the special, she had to go back into the hospital for heart surgery. And I was like, so as soon as we got the second special, the first person I told Showtime, I said, "We're bringing Julia back." And I told Julia, I said, "If you get sick again, I'm going to bring the fucking camera into the hospital room."
We have a comment. I've seen the first Showtime special at the Crane back in May. Always great stuff. Linda, go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and hit the blue button so we can see your name associated with it, darling, with your comments. Michelle Ballin, she thinks you're great. She thinks all of them. Everyone's great.
Thank you, Michelle.
I sent you the link if you want to pop on, Michelle. Okay, I want to play some clips here, Carole. I think Monique Marvez, with whom I have never worked, I'm going to play a clip of her. She is out in California. This woman, I know she makes fun of her weight. I think she's stunning. Yeah. And I think she looks like Catherine Zeta-Jones. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Monique Marvez.
I'm delighted. I hope you guys like the dress. Thank you. I dressed up for you. It's tighter than a frog's ass in flight. I'm a meaty woman. I like my food. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really like my food. Don't trust skinny chicks. Physical pleasures are physical pleasures. If a woman doesn't like a good meal, there's a pretty good chance she's not gonna be into who's your daddy. You know what I mean? There's a direct correlation. Watch a woman eating barbecue. If she sucks the meat off the bone and it's so clean you can put it back in the cow, you want that one, all right? Yeah.
We've known each other forever because, like, I actually say this in the special. We were like the original Dirty Girls. It was me and Monique Marvez and Sheila Kay and Felicia Michaels. We were always like, they're dirty. You know what I mean? And so, and she's been around and working. And I was like, do you want to do the show? And she's like, oh, do I want to do the show? Of course I want to do the show. So she does an amazing job. They all do. I mean, there's nobody on the show that does badly.
All right. So there's another clip here from one of our friends, Leanne Lord. And I want to set this up. Leanne Lord, the first time I saw Leanne Lord, I wanted to start doing stand-up. I was brand spanking new, doing some open mics. And she would be at Stand Up New York with her father, God rest his soul, cheering her on. And I actually, she knows this. I get emotional when I think about it. The love that was surrounding her, and it's just delightful to have witnessed. So she sadly lost both of her parents, and she was quite open on Facebook and in her comedy about the pain of being the caretaker, being the adult now for the two adults that no longer could be adults. Right. She turned it into comedy, and I want to play a clip of that.
I'm a new mom. I have a 77 and an 84-year-old. What is happening? Like, one day I had parents, the next day I'm like, what are Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis doing in my house? Now, if you're looking at me and you're thinking that I look too young to have parents that old, you are absolutely right, and thank you. But my parents had me late in life, so apparently I'm their retirement plan. Yes, I am the cutest IRA you'll ever see.
Yeah, she's great.
The reason I wanted to play that clip, because you guys, if you could see how Leanne was so honest on Facebook, really expressing, saying, I am having a hell of a day, you guys. I don't know how to handle this. You don't know what I'm going through, or some of you do know what I'm going through. I mean, it was really heart-opening. And here she is getting on stage in her pretty sparkly dress and flipping it. I want to play another clip. This is vintage Marsha Warfield. Vintage. We're going back to 1987. Marsha played a night court, Roz. Mm-hmm. Marsha came in first in the San Francisco comedy competition back in the day.
Yep.
I had done a competition myself, which was a great experience. I had to get a clip. The rest of it is so politically incorrect, which I love so much. And I'm going to put that backstage on Patreon for those who subscribe to Patreon. P-A-T, this is where you guys support the show and you get extra treats. Patreon, patreon.com, Maureen Langan. And if you subscribe starting at $5, you get little treats. I'm going to play that clip that I found and put it on Patreon, but I took a little bit out of it that I could. Here you go. 1987, Marsha Warfield.
Some people say older men are better to date. They have more endurance and can make love longer. I say let's think about that for a minute. Who wants to fuck an old man for a long time? Like, come on, Pop, let's get this shit over with now, honey. Don't start all that wheezing and shit. Let's go.
She's the best. The best.
She's smoking on stage.
Oh, yeah.
Such a different time. Vintage Marsha Warfield.
Oh, yeah.
Teri Hatcher. Now, she's the big names to go with working gals.
Yes.
I know she's a talent. I know she's great energy, great timing, great actress. how was she as a comic?
She was amazing, and so people understand this about me, and yes, and the network did want that. They always want to have names. It's just the way it is, and which is fine, and I understand that. I was sent a clip of Teri doing a story that I was watching it, and I was laughing. She was so funny. So she's more of a comedic storyteller. Mm-hmm. And she's so sweet. She's such a dear woman, and she was so terrified. And she was like, "Do you mind if I go over everything with you?" I said, "Absolutely not." So we worked on it. Not that we didn't really work on it, but she showed me her stuff, and I gave her suggestions, like maybe try it this way, like And she's also good friends with Jay Leno, and he helped her because I said, and I had said to her, and then she said Jay repeated the same thing. I said, a storyteller says. I'm going to screw up the storyteller says things that are funny, and a comedian says funny things. And I said you just have to switch it a little bit. And she was great. She absolutely. I was so proud of her because she was so nervous. And there's a trick that I used to tell my son when he was in Little League and he'd pitch. I'd say, just take a deep breath before you go on stage. If you're in a situation, breathe. And everyone in Little League knew me because I'd be yelling at him, fucking breathe. And so. So there's a great moment, Teri's about to be introduced, and she looks over at me and she goes, it was so funny. It was adorable. And she went out and they loved her. She was amazing. She really was.
And she had never done stand-up ever in her life before.
No, but she had done storytelling. And storytelling, I mean, there are a lot of women I know that, because I've done a Funny Women of a Certain Age, the storytelling version. So storytelling is just a little bit different. But I told her, I said, you could end up on the road with us because she really was that good. She really did because remember also actresses know how to act. Do you know what I mean? Like when when you see the opening is so funny, and she's in the opening with me, and she nailed it like on the first take. And I was the one that kept fucking up the line. They're like, "Take it again," and I'm set. Teri, I'm sorry. So,
two things I want to say quickly. One is it goes to show you that no matter how seasoned one is as a performer, Teri Hatcher, you still get nervous when you have to be that stand-up comedian on stage because she's not thinking actress, she's thinking stand-up comic.
Exactly.
And she put that in her head. And I'm thinking you're going to get Miss Maisel, Rachel Brosnahan, for the next one.
She's too young, actually. She's too young. The greatest thing about doing the show is when I have to walk up to women and go, "I'm sorry, you're too young."
Bitch. You and I, my darling, Carole, we're going to be at the Friars Club.
I know, that's going to be so much fun.
November 10th. And the cool thing, you guys, is the Friars Club is a members-only organization, but this show that I'm hosting and producing is open to non-members.
Yeah.
To non-members. So I've been posting that on Facebook. I'm going to put that up today on my website. But hit me up on Facebook and I can tell you how to get tickets. They're on Eventbrite. $35, cocktails, comedy, great show. You get to see the legendary townhouse that is the Friars Club.
Friars Club.
But of course, we want you to watch Women of a Certain Age on Showtime, November 24th, 10 p.m. on the East Coast, 10 p.m. on the West Coast with Marsha Warfield, Monique, Marvez, Leanne Lord, Wendy, Liebman, and Teri Hatcher.
But watch, everyone that's listening, please watch try to watch the show at the premiere, because that's where the numbers really come in. Like for the first special was the highest rated special for Showtime for 2019 for the first special we did. So we want to keep those numbers high. So if you guys can actually watch it, I mean, you don't even have to watch it. Just turn it on so it counts.
And then go cook. Who cares? Go do something.
Yeah, and you can, and most people go, well, I don't have Showtime. Well, there's like a 30-day free trial. So, and they have great shows. I mean, Dexter's coming back and Billions is coming back. They really are a great network, and they've been wonderful to me. I'm very blessed to have such a great network behind me, because they got the idea from the moment I walked in.
I'm going to put you in the back room, so you stay there for me a minute, Carole. You guys follow, support. It's a really big deal what she's created. And please consider supporting Hangin' with Langan when you subscribe for a monthly membership at patreon.com, Patreon. Search Maureen Langan, starting at $5 a month. Different levels. You can get a Don't Make Me Hate You t-shirt. We can have a comedy show. So check that out. And speaking of shows, reach out to me if you want a host, a comedian, a moderator for your next event. I have Lori Kilmartin joining me next week. Lori Kilmartin, one of the head writers for Conan O'Brien for many years, Jackie and Lori podcast, really funny. She's a friend of mine, and she's done really well for herself. So we're going to chat with her next week. Follow Hangin' with Langan. You'll see Alan Zweibel, an original Saturday Night Live writer. You'll see historians. We run the gamut there. So I try to bring something for everybody, alcoholics, academics, and everyone in between. So you know the routine. Until we meet again, bye, wig.
No, you cannot leave me like that.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, and feel free to share it with a friend.
Please don't go, please.
I'll be back.
Au revoir.